Hi everyone, welcome to my multimedia week 6 presentation for MPA 510. An overview of today's presentation, I am going to first be talking about the public and private sector and what those two things are. And then I'm going to focus on the general public administration theories and then a closing. So if my boss came up to me and said that we need to run our government agency more like the private sector, the first thing I would do is focus on government and what is the role of government and look at the Constitution, federalism, and Wilson's dichotomy. So although they are similar in many ways, going from a public to private sector is going to change the dynamics of how things are ran. Private sector relates to profit making and efficiency, and public sector relates to nonprofit and government regulatory agencies. The private sector drives for growth and has less government involvement, whereas the public sector is the opposite. So the role of the government in the United States is to regulate, as simple as that is. And you look at the Constitution, and it is a clear structural definition of how rules and how everything is going to be ran. You can say that it is bureaucratically ran. So then we move on to federalism, the separation of powers. So the state, local, and federal, kind of defining who has authority over what. And it is important because the separation allows each political system to maintain its own integrity without, one side really stepping over. And Wilson's dichotomy, the separation of politics and administration. And this ties into what the private sector stands for. The Constitution and federalism, they all kind of web together. And unlike the public sector, the private sector has very little political or government involvement. So, one can argue that businesses should be ran like the government and keep everything separate. Using these 3 examples is how I would start from switching over to the private sector after being in the public sector. So thank you for watching my presentation.